A man in his 30s sits in silence, the weight of unpaid bills scattered on the table, each one a reminder of promises broken and chances missed. His reflection in the dark window isn't just tired, it's haunted by years lost to addictions, scrolling, and excuses. Regret whispers that it's already too late. But in another frame of the same life, we see him rise before the sun, lacing his shoes, pushing through sweat and struggle, choosing discipline over despair. The chaos hasn't vanished. The bills, the noise, the distractions are still there, but his response has changed. This is the fork every late starter faces. Remain buried under the rubble of wasted years, or use that rubble as building blocks for a stronger self. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who faced betrayal, relentless wars, and even plague tearing through his people, refused to let chaos dictate his spirit. Instead, he transformed suffering into strength, setbacks into stepping stones. If a man burdened with an empire's chaos could build an unshakable mind, then what excuse do we have? If he could rise, why can't you? The real war isn't out there in the noisy streets, the unpaid bills, or the endless distractions. It's in here, in the mind. Marcus Aurelius knew this well, writing, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." For late starters, this truth cuts deeper than any external failure, because the real enemies aren't your age, your debt, or your broken past. They're your procrastination whispering tomorrow, self-doubt convincing you that you're too late, and shame chaining you to old mistakes. Picture a man in his 30s, numbing himself night after night with scrolling, junk food, or cheap thrills. Nothing outside changes, yet the day he decides to take back control of his thoughts, the battlefield shifts. Instead of believing the lie that he's powerless, he reframes setbacks as lessons, cravings as tests, and time as precious fuel. Psychology confirms what Aurelius lived. It's not the events that destroy us, but the meaning we attach to them. And here's the hook. If you can master this inner battlefield, if you can discipline your thoughts instead of being enslaved by them, every other challenge, money, health, relationships, becomes infinitely easier. The question is, will you win the war within? Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle is not in the way. The obstacle becomes the way. For late starters, this is more than philosophy. It's survival. Picture two men at 50. One stares at the ashes of his past, debts, broken promises, years wasted, and decides it's over. He drowns in regret, bitterness his only companion. The other man carries the same weight of failure, but instead of letting it bury him, he treats it like a barbell. Every setback becomes resistance training. Every regret another rep that builds his resilience. Think of J.K. Rowling. Rejected, broke, raising a child alone, yet she turned rejection slips into stepping stones and built one of the most beloved worlds in literature. Or Colonel Sanders, who was turned away countless times before KFC became a global empire. Your burdens are not curses. They are the weights designed to forge strength. The irony? The heavier your past, the stronger your potential. And here's the question you can't ignore. What if your greatest failure isn't your downfall, but the very weapon that could make you unstoppable? Marcus Aurelius ruled the richest empire on earth. He could have drowned himself in pleasure, yet he chose restraint. Why? Because he knew indulgence weakens the soul. Fast forward to today, and temptations sit in your pocket, on every screen, in every store. Scrolling until 2 a.m., binging junk food, numbing yourself with another drink, they feel harmless in the moment, but they steal your mornings, your focus, your dignity. Imagine a man in his 40s, once trapped in that cycle. Every night he drank to escape the shame of wasted years. But one decision, trading the bottle for early morning training, flipped his life. The first mornings were hell, but discipline slowly rebuilt his confidence. Each workout was a brick laid in the foundation of a new identity. Discipline isn't punishment, it's liberation. Every time you say no to craving, you say yes to freedom. Neuroscience confirms it. Dopamine-driven habits hijack resilience, keeping you weak and distracted. But here's the question that should keep you awake tonight. What kind of life could you build if you mastered your desires, instead of letting them master you? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that death was never far, not to depress himself, but to sharpen his urgency. For late starters, this truth cuts even deeper. You don't have endless tomorrows left to waste. Picture two men at 60. One sits alone, broke, bitter, replaying the same thought. If only I had started earlier. His dreams never left the notebook. His body gave in to neglect. His regrets haunt him louder than his memories. Now picture another man, also 60, who began at 40. He rebuilt his health, his craft, his relationships. He isn't rich in excuses, but in purpose, respected by those he's lifted along the way. The difference between them wasn't talent, luck, or opportunity. It was time, and what they chose to do with it. Every wasted day compounds into regret. Every disciplined day compounds into strength. That's the brutal truth, and the liberating one. Because today, this very moment is still yours. The only question is, how many more years will you let slip through your fingers before you rise? Marcus Aurelius did not rule for pleasure or comfort. He ruled because duty demanded it. He believed a life anchored in service was the strongest shield against despair. For late starters drowning in self-pity, the fastest path out isn't more self-indulgence, but shifting focus beyond yourself. Picture a man once obsessed with chasing status and validation. No amount of money or likes filled the emptiness, but when he began mentoring young people in his community, teaching them the lessons he had learned too late, his strength multiplied. Service gave him direction, and direction gave him resilience. Here lies the paradox. The more you make life about only you, the weaker you become. But the moment you live for family, for craft, for others, your setbacks turn into fuel for something greater than yourself. Ask yourself honestly, what legacy will you leave behind if you start building it today? Imagine setbacks no longer breaking you, but forging you. The Stoic blueprint is simple yet powerful. Master your mind so chaos can't control you. Discipline your desires so cravings lose their grip. Turn your burdens into weights that build strength. Treat time as a fire that pushes you to act now, and anchor your life in service so your struggles create legacy. Picture a cinematic montage, a late starter journaling at dawn, resisting temptations at night, transforming failures into fuel, taking bold steps each day and slowly rising into someone unshakable. Each lesson is a piece of armor, and together they form resilience that no storm can pierce. Now ask yourself, if you lived this blueprint every single day for the next year, who would you become? The clock is ticking, and the next 10 years will pass whether you rise or waste them. Picture the undisciplined path, drifting through distractions, waking at 60 with regret, haunted by the years you can't reclaim. Now contrast the Stoic path, every disciplined choice compounding into strength, purpose, and a legacy that outlives you. Marcus Aurelius's wisdom has survived 2,000 years, waiting for those bold enough to act. But your window is closing fast. No more tomorrows, no more waiting. This is your moment to rise, to turn setbacks into fuel, and to reclaim the life still within your grasp. The choice is yours. Waste it or weaponize it. Rise before it's too late.